Wisconsin's practice of sharing state taxes with local governments dates back 112 years to 1911, when a share of the new state income tax was earmarked for local governments to compensate them for property tax exemptions that were enacted at the same time. Initially, the state employed a return-to-origin shared tax system to compensate local governments for the reduction in tax base due to the elimination of the property tax on intangible personal property, household goods, and farm equipment. 90% of the income tax collections of the state were distributed back to the local government, 20% to the counties, and 70% to the municipalities where the tax was assessed. In 1971, the return-to-origin-based distribution was repealed. Varying percentages of several state tax collections continued to be dedicated for local government, and the amounts were deposited in a municipal and county shared tax account and distributed to local governments under a needs-based allocation. The 1971 distribution system was short-lived. In 1977, a shared revenue appropriation was created, and changes in the appropriations funding level were tied to changes in total state general fund tax collections. Changes continued throughout the years until in the last 20 years, county and municipal aid has been frozen and a few times reduced. Today, we are at a landmark threshold in the history of Wisconsin shared revenue. If this august body passes a shared revenue bill that is before us today, we will have moved the needle of county and municipal aid being directed to our local governments in a much-needed upward and forward direction. Mr. Speaker, I would be remiss if I did not also laud the bill's intention of righting the ship that has long listed to port, allocating 78.2% of shared revenue to our cities and villages, while the starboard side of the ship, the 1,258 towns, were left with only 5.6% of county and municipal aids. My district is comprised of almost all towns. This bill will substantially help these communities in many, many ways. One example is in public safety. In Clark County, whom I have the honor of representing, we have had such a lack of funding for public safety that we can only keep 2 law enforcement personnel on shift at one time. Each one of these deputies have to cover 650 square miles. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to cast my vote today in favor of such significant legislation.